confusion. Let me begin.
Right.
I'm going to put this on down. So what did I want to talk into the void about? What it was this. It was last Friday. Paul did a Q&A, and one of the persons was Jack. He talked about going. He was participating, and in his participation, he sought some type of answer to the call that his participation represented. And when he went, he was curious and doubting as to the validity of his experience. This is how I interpret it anyway. He was doubting about the validity of his experience because he was not feeling in return what that participation was supposed to bring out. Right? He was doing the call, but he wasn't getting the response. And he found that disheartening and difficult. And within it, there was a lovely passage where Paul talks about the following, and it is the Mother Teresa passage. And I will put that into motion for a few minutes.
And that book was so important because if you know anything about Mother Teresa, she believed God had turned his back on her. She had devoted himself to her. She had married God, in a sense. It's sort of what nuns do. She had married God. She had devoted herself to him. And she devoted herself to him in the most sacrificial way possible. And the thing is, after her death, her books were open. And to the horror of everyone who wanted to fanboy and fangirl her, her books were full of pleading with God to show me the love. My God, why have you forsaken me? To quote Jesus from the cross.
Yeah.
And what that means is she lived, it sounds like at an earlier point in her life, she had tasted that sweetness of communion with God, with feeling God's love, with feeling his closeness, with feeling his power. But then it went away, and it went away for the rest of her life. And she walked the rest of her life in the most faithful, obedient way. Now, as a Calvinist, maybe I'd say maybe she did it in order to try to earn God's love. Was that her motivation? Who am I to judge? But did she receive it at the end? I don't know. But she's recognized as a saint. Why? Because she could do it even if she didn't feel like it. And she blessed the world through it.
She could do it even if she didn't feel like it. She received an initial taste, and thereafter the well went dry. I've likened this unto the idea of taking one step over the line and having some type of event or moment or insight which transforms you from one realm and world paradigm into another paradigm. Because once you step over this line of before and after, there can never be a before again, but you don't know what lies ahead of you in the after. And what I brought to my mind about this part was a passage that came from Eckhart, and I want to read some of this. So I was thinking about the idea that there's this tension of dealing with this nothingness. Eckhart kind of talked about, Meister Eckhart kind of talked about God as nothingness, right? Almost like a left brain, right brain language of being non-categorizable, right? And in that sense, being nothingness. And I thought this gives inklings of something, and it takes away as fast those inklings and suspicions of what might be beyond your ken. it shows you a picture of the island, to use the language of C.S. Lewis in The Pilgrim's Regress. And then the next thing you know, you are back into nothingness. You are back into the daily routine. I came across a passage from Sermon 71 of Meister Eckhart, where he reflects on the acts of the Paul the Apostle on the road to Damascus. Paul rose from the ground and with open eyes saw nothing. Surrexit autum Saulus de terra apartisque oculis, nihil videbit, ad manus autemilum trahentes introduxerunt Damascus. From the Clementine. Sometimes I do that because that's kind of the hobby aspect of this this channel. So he talks here about seeing nothing, and looking into this, somebody has seen to describe that Eckhart here is using this verse to describe the ultimate spiritual state of detachment, where the soul empties itself of all worldly images and concepts to directly experience the divine. That's a pretty heavy idea, that Eckhart is simply pointing to this notion of nothingness. And I think this wrestling with nothingness is something that's very difficult for the modern Western mind, because if we are indeed slightly left brain coded now, then the idea of nothingness, the idea of always being able to define something will immediately come into conflict when faced with the totality of what it means to encounter something like the transcendent. And I think that's what we don't know how to wrestle with. And I think we don't understand the timelines that are attendant on wrestling with this transcendent and seeking out to be in the position of the transcendent. The person who was giving me quotations on this was the wonderful man who was now sadly passed away. The wonderful why isn't that working? The wonderful Michael Sugrue. Anybody who's interested in various philosophical lectures and lectures on ancient literature and other types of wonderful texts should take a look at Michael Sugrue. He's a wonderful, articulate speaker. He does a tremendous piece of work. This is Michael Sugrue talking about Meister Eckhart. That's interesting. While it may be difficult to work out, it is the central thing to be done. And yet, even back in the 11th century, we're struggling with the process of putting that into words. And come the advent of the printing press and the Enlightenment, our tendency to want to put something into a very fixed way of describing a very standardized language capable of being understood by everybody and being approved by everybody becomes more and more driving. Let's see what our Michael says. What a great line. mean, that's exactly what Jack was talking about. That's exactly what many people are talking about in this part of the world. He said that although God was ineffable, a fun word connection or play there is that the word infant comes from the same root as effable, fari to speak. So an infant fans is somebody who doesn't have the ability to speak, right? So to the extent that we can't put into words our grasping of the transcendent or understand the transcendent, we are infants, right? I think that's a fun play. A certain set of images might alter the consciousness in a certain way. I mean, that's what C.S. Lewis was talking about in Pilgrim's Regress, that Jeff helpfully pointed out in the last session. Um, and it's also part of the appeal of the Orthodox tradition, surely, right? There are these images which are speaking in a subfocal way. Goddamn ads. Um, so what what he continues then is to talk about how Meister Eckhart uses metaphors, and he uses metaphors such as seeing the greenness of grass or flowers and other types of things, and saying that God is green. And Sugru explains that, look, it would only be the most literal and logical mind that would begin to think that such a metaphor would be applicable as a claim that God was actually green. But no, what he is trying to relate is an aspect that can't be directly related to probably the sense of vitality or life force that something like the divine represents. And he begins to paint Eckhart as somebody who is entirely anti to the highly logical kind of scholastic tradition. And when Jack was talking to Paul and wondering about where's the answer when you call, right? And as Paul in the road to Damascus, he gets up and he sees nothing, right? Maybe the answer is nothing. Maybe that is the very openness. That's the open invitation. That's the response. That's the entering into space. Maybe part of the process of dropping all the preconceptions and the expectations of what you want to see and how you want to be answered involves getting no answer. But then Sugru continues on with a lovely turnaround, which is the following. He goes to line 3. He goes to the very end of this and he uses a line from Eckhart Tolle. Sorry, bear with me. This will take me 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Got it. What a cool line. 1,000 books of logic are never going to have anything about God clearing his throat. And there's an aspect of this which is a rejection of pantheism, because this is not the God of that is immanent in everything, but external, right? Not external to anything. This is the rejection of pantheism, right? I mean, it's the deeply personalistic, external, transcendent, beyond God figure who can actually enter the room of existence and clear his throat. Doesn't say anything, just clears his throat, calling to the person. So, yeah, that was my bit on Eckhart Tolle and the wonderful Michael Sugru and the equally wonderful Jack and Paul van der Klee. All right, one person watching. Unless you want to join, I'm going to drop the link. What do you want to do? Do I have a link? Could you drop the link? Could you join? Who can tell? Do you even want to join? I don't know. Who are you? Pray tell, stranger. Share your name and share your face. Sorry, I'm only talking foolishness now. All right. Thanks for dropping in anyway for a small bit of this, and peace out. Talk to you soon. Unless you do want to join, at which point I'd happily chew over anything with you. How do I do this? Oh shit! Oh, now there's 4 people. What's going on? How do I even share this? Sorry, guys. I'm not even a boomer, and I'm acting like one. Show comments on stage. How do I drop the link? Does anybody know how to drop the link? Show comments on stage. All right, we're down to 3. Can't blame them. It won't be long before we're down to 2. Yeah, sorry, I don't even know what I'm doing here. How do I drop the link? Copy. There you go. That's an act of faith anyway. Now we're down to 2. It's riveting TV when you're listening to somebody counting how many people are dropping off the stream. Well, there you go. That's if anybody wants to take a hop on, feel free. If you don't, peace out. Take care of yourselves and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And talk to you on Sunday. Okay, alrighty. All the best, guys. Hey, Sandy. Thank you. That's kind. How you been keeping? Do you want to jump on? You want to have a quick one? Or another time? Or another time? You've gone.